says that she loves me. Isn't it lovely when the one you're lusting is the one you're loving?
Hi,
Hi, how are you? Thank you so
I'm
much for
awesome.
having me. I'm so excited to be a part of the galaxy and like part of like Michael Harriet. Like I'm on the right show today.
Yeah, yes, yes. I mean, when you showed me, when you gifted me the book, the coloring book and all, I was I was like, wow, this is very, this is how, it's not messages of black people, and it's not, it's not black power, it's joy, unicorns and fairy tales and
Yeah.
rainbows and
Yeah.
puppies, the things that we should lean into because it allows our children's minds to grow and expand. And so talk me through, Njeri, how you came up with everything is magical.
Okay, not a problem. Well, back in 2019, my daughter had requested a butterfly unicorn tea party. It was wild request, but I made it happen. And then when it happened, I had little girls had butterflies to put on their backs. And then I started noticing their natural hair. And when you start going into the unicorn space, which is like $1 billion industry, it really is, you start
Wait, pause. There's a unicorn space.
let me tell you, unicorns, if you have a 4 to maybe 8 or 9 year old, unicorns are a thing for little girls, especially. I didn't realize it until she got into that space and we started going to all these unicorn parties. And I was like, wow, okay, this is really, really big. Um, and so, you know how you're thinking about things. I said, oh, it's too bad I couldn't buy something that looked like her or the special hair or the natural hair that they had. And so the pandemic hit and I have Amari and her brother, who is at the time a freshman in college, home with me. And you got nothing but time.
So wait, you have a 7-year-old and a freshman in college,
Well, they're 14
Njeri?
years apart. So now, no, now he's a senior in college at the time.
Wow, wow.
Lots. Don't ask questions, but
Okay, I'll mind my business. Okay, continue.
but they were both home. And I was also going through a divorce, so it was just like a way for me to start to like put my mind at ease through the stress. And so after that, I started going into self-publishing, and I didn't know about the publishing world. It's like huge. It's a lot to try to process. And then the next thing you know, I'm trying to find an illustrator. But that worked out through a friend of mine who was in Mocha Moms. And she said, I have this daughter who can draw. And at the time, she was in high school. And I'm like, you know what, bet, let's just try this. And so I was like, this is my vision. And she made those visions come true. And it just started kind of spinning from there. And then I was actually able to publish back in 2021, February. Yeah.
And so, what's different about everything is magical from all the 50, 11 million, because this children's space is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and a lot of things, to your point, very transactional. you know Not everyone gets to break in it as a publisher. Children's books are for celebrities. You got to be a celebrity. You have to be well known. You just can't,
Yep.
like, every celebrity, even Toni Morrison, I think, or Maya Angelou and her son had a children's book. I was like, y'all just really just slapping people's names. Uh, Much respect, but it's really driven towards that, not what the children need.
Right. I know. I totally, totally agree. But when you're self-published, it becomes like a grind. You know what I mean? Like you got to do vendor events, and that becomes a whole different space that you start learning even how vendors deal, and you start kind of learning some lessons from that. You try to be on, all the different social media sites. I started learning lessons from that because you're feeding a machine, right? And you're just hoping this machine feeds you back. And then there were some nights and I started realizing I'm tired. You know what I'm saying? Like I have to still mother and I can't be up trying to come up with posts or, trying to develop a schedule for posts. And then you start learning about some people have agents, some people don't have agents. You got to have so many social media followers to even being considered, and so that's when even I started learning like my space was to work with maybe smaller people. Like Sankofa was like the first bookstore, and Blue Now were the first bookstores of like, I like what the message that you're sending. The same thing that you're saying is about natural hair. It's about loving your natural hair. I have different things in the books about the Crown Act, which at back then a lot of people didn't know. And so parents were like, I didn't even know there were laws against you having natural hair. We have to pass laws to have natural hair. So I just wanted to put the little messages in there, but the smaller bookstores were the ones who really embraced me first, and I appreciate them so much, so much. And it's hard to go against the big boys. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah, no. I love the puzzle, and this is for children ages for
I would
children
say
under.
4 to 10, but I have adults who buy because coloring books are cathartic. Actually, I have had people buy the puzzle themselves, and I tried to do kind of like a susu when I started. That was my intention. So Monda Webb, who's another author, hooked me up with Black Classic Press and Damani Coates, who runs Good Day to Print, and
Paul
they
Coates,
Paul
Ta-Nehisi's
Coates, yep,
family. Yep. Mm-hmm.
their family, and they loved it, and they were like, oh yeah, we can get you some books. My sister loved it. I ran into Inspire Puzzles, which is another black owned place, and they do specifically affirmation puzzles, and that's Brett and Yolanda. Love them so very much. Even when I was doing the Upwork type of things for the website, that was somebody in India. I tried to just create a space for people who are melanated like us, who just don't get a lot of opportunities. And I said, hey, if I'm going to make it big, I'm going to bring everybody along with me. Noni Grimes, again, she's African American. Now she's a student up near you at NYU. So I just wanted to make sure that I planted seeds within my own community. That was my purpose.
Listen, I always will celebrate that because we're all running to the big guys, but they didn't start big, right? And the only way we get big is through coming together and building and planting those seeds to germinate and not sell out, because that's the formula now, right? So you get big enough for somebody to come in, and then you live a nice life, and that's great. But now your children's children don't have any legacy, and they're only, there's a monopoly on our energy and our gifts that somebody else owns and can manipulate and control and erase, quite frankly, because that's also the thing. So I applaud you for staying in it, Njeri. Amani, she's 7. Amani, is it Amani?
Amari.
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 I'm sorry,
Yep. It's
Amari.
okay.
She's 7 now, and
I'm going on 17.
no, when she pulled me in to whisper in my ear my opening, I was like, okay, this little girl is something special. She's super smart, apparently. What would you say to people? Because I feel like Michael Harriot talked about the intentionality that his mom had, like down to leaving recordings because she had to work, reading books to them in a recording that they all had to listen to. What's the intentionality with raising this child? Because you've done something.
The same thing that's happened to me. Like, my mom is very, Afrocentric, every day that was a conversation about being black in America. My father, who is passed, his name was Marshall Brown. He was a part of SNCC in what we call the Berry Brigade for Marion Barry. So it was kind of, they poured into me, the importance of knowing yourself, not being scared to show yourself, and being intentional, being comfortable with yourself. And that's the same thing I want to do for Amari. I know she's walking into the world as a black woman. And so I want to expose her to all that. So like I said, we've been listening to Karen since she was like 1.5. She didn't think you were real. I had to show her videos, you're not real. And then I was like, you know what? And that's why we came to Blurred, was one, to show her a space of African Americans or just people of color who like, because she likes the different type of animations, anime. And then as we're coming down the stairs, she saw another little girl there with the unicorns on. She gave the head nod, they gave the dead high, and they smiled. And my intention is just for her to be comfortable and be able to be in any space and be comfortable with any space that she's in, and not to dim her light. Because I just know how that works, living in this world for more than 40 years at this point, and I just want to be intentional with that.
Well, how is she? Because she's really the face of this. I feel like the little girl with the
Yes.
wings is her. I feel like you made that happen. How is she interacting with having a brand that was inspired by her?
She's my de facto sales manager. I'm not gonna lie to you. I have gone into camp and people have walked up to me and like, your daughter told me you have a book, and then she'll come home, I need your cards. Or she, the school, the teacher, she told the first day, my mom is the author and you need to have her in there. And actually it worked. They had me come into the classroom and talk to her. So I like that she's seen it grow. And I think that shows her that, you can do something. And I'm noticing with her, which is a little different than my son, is that she really listens and picks up on everything that you do. So I've been very intentional on how I move. So she's seen it from beginning. She's come to vendor events with me. So now she knows, I think that's how she got comfortable talking to people, trying to sell a book. Of course, she wants to see it grow and she wants to see it, be on different things and items and stuff like that. I'm like, I haven't learned that space yet. I'm trying to learn that space. But she is very, very comfortable with being the face of it. I think she loves it to a certain extent.
So as a mom, school is back in Maryland.
I'm in DC. So right
DC.
now we're on vacation here in South Carolina, ironically. We're going to Charleston on Wednesday. And school starts in another week for us.
What's your biggest concern? Because Michael and Harry and I were talking about, of course, the dismantling of education and how parents have to, and for a lot of parents, it's like, we work hard. I don't want to have to work when I get home. I just want to eat and watch some TV and, maybe read a bedtime story. But you have to do more now. Or are you comfortable with where your school system is? Because it's DC, so it's Chocolate City. So I'm sure that's not an issue.
We don't have the book ban situation going on, but I think even for my son, I have been intentional of pouring in them extra. I don't count on the school system, never thought, use them as the end all be all. I remember when my son was thinking about being a sports agent, I think I gave him the $1 Million Slave book to read, to understand. And I think at that point, he was like maybe a freshman in high school. With Amari, we read every day. We read this morning. We're currently reading a book called Witchlings by, I think the last name is Ortega. And I just make sure we talk about, Martin Luther King. We talk about it all. I just don't rely on the school system. If you do, I just feel like your child will come out possibly not being again comfortable with themselves. And so that's just how I roll as a mom.
Yeah. I run my fingers through her hair as she smiles and says that she loves me. Isn't it lovely when the one you're lusting is the one